Our next presentation is from Jan van Smirren, Understanding Gulf Ocean Systems, the UGOS update. And Jan, if you are able to share your slides. Thank you.
Okay, hopefully you can see my slides now and you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, that's progress. Okay, so I'm just, my name is Jan van Smirren. I work for DHI, but in addition to that, I'm a member of the GCOOS board. I'm the treasurer, and on the UGOS project, I'm the technical coordinator. So I'm going to try to give you a very brief update on the progress of UGOS. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a bit of context and background on what the UGOS project is, and then talk about the status of the program. This photo here you can see is the meeting that we had, the annual meeting that we had last month at Texas A&M. It was hosted by Steve DeMarco and was extremely successful, and he did a fantastic job. Throughout the whole of this UGOS program, there has been a continual engagement with GCOOS. A lot of us working in the capacity of both being part of GCOOS and also being on the UGOS team, including my good friend Velimon, who has been doing all the data management for the program. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the UGOS program, it's a 10-year program funded by the National Academy of Sciences. It's had 2 phases in the first 5 years, and we're now in the final phase, and we're at the halfway stage of this 5-year program. And the overarching objective is to support activities that are focused on improving the skill of sustained and continuous operations, forecasts, and associated physical understanding of the ocean dynamics for the reduction of risk to the offshore energy industry in the Gulf of Mexico. And so this has been the kind of the theme for the last 10 years. Many of you have been involved in many of the previous UGOS projects. But in addition to that, the secondary objectives are to provide improvement to hurricane prediction and fisheries applications. And throughout the program, and particularly in this last phase, the kind of cross-cutting themes that we've had are science with purpose, stakeholder engagement, which was clearly key in our last annual meeting, where we had all the major stakeholders at the meeting, and then finally the transition to operations. And the emphasis of the transition to operations is that we do this work, we do this science, we engage with our stakeholders, but at the end of the program in 2027, our hope is that some of the assets and the techniques and the wisdom that have come from this project get transferred to the stakeholders and then adopted and taken forward by them. So it's really, to really have an impact long term rather than, just be a 5-year science program. And we've got more than 100 researchers from 30 organizations participating in UGOS, including multiple institutes in Mexico, UNAM and CICE, for example. We don't actually have any Cuban institutes on UGOS, but we are working in Cuban waters, and so we're constantly engaged with the Cuban authorities and providing them with the data that we're acquiring in the program. So in terms of the program status, having 10 minutes to try to describe what's been happening in this UGOS program is nearly impossible. But suffice to say, the elements of the program that that exist are that we have deployed Argo floats in the Gulf of Mexico. We have an array of PIs and current meters across the Yucatan. We have Yucatan Channel HF radar. We have a topographic Rossby wave antenna on the Sigbee Escarpment. We've undertaken the mini adaptive sampling test run program. We've done a bunch of model reanalysis. We're bringing SWOT data into our program. We're looking at ocean color. We're looking at machine learning and vertical projection. Of course, as I said, this is emphasis on transition to operations. There's also we're producing metrics on the work that we do so we can illustrate the improvements that we're generating through the program. And then we've got the next major experiment, the grand adaptive sampling experiment, which will be starting later this year. Now, I don't have time to talk about all these programs, so I picked 3 to talk about just briefly. The topographic Rossby wave antenna, the master program, and GRACE, and they're observational, so they're kind of they fit well with GCOOS' objectives. So the topographic Rossby wave antenna is a program or an element of the UGOS program for modeling and observational forecasting of topographic Rossby waves along the Sigbee Escarpment. And the antenna has been installed. It consists of traditional CPIs and PIs, and also Sonodyne Origin 65s, which are an ADCP with a PI integrated into it. And the photo on the top right is a picture of one of the Origin 65s just before deployment. So the array has been installed. The objective is to monitor and learn to predict topographic Rossby waves along the Sigbee Escarpment. The array went in earlier this year, and in August we sent out a USV that autonomously went to the site, went along the array and harvested all the data from all the instruments successfully, and which I think in itself is quite an exceptional result for us to have achieved. That was the first time it had been sent out, and it went out there. It was 100% successful, harvested all the data from the array. So anyone who works in data observations know how challenging that can be, but it was completely successful. So that program is continuing over the next year. There'll be further trips out to harvest data, and we also have some data pods that will be popping up independently and telemetering data back to shore. As I said, in addition to observational elements of the array, we're also running models, and we've engaged very strongly, as I said, with stakeholders throughout this program, and we're able to get Deep Star, which is an industry consortium, to release their high-resolution model, and we're now using that NCOM model to better characterize and predict the transition of topographic Rossby waves along the Sigbee Escarpment. And if you can see clearly on the graph on the right-hand side that the quality of the forecast coming from that model way exceeds what we would get from HICOM. So that's just a quick update on that program. The next program is the Mini Adaptive Sampling Test Run, which was led by Steve DeMarco from Texas A&M and was a spectacular success. We had 60 researchers, 16 institutions, and as I said, 3 countries. Every time a glider went into Cuban waters, we had to let the Cuban authorities know in advance. And the objective was to look at the Gulf of Mexico inflow region. And I guess really this is, in all the years of seeing research in the Gulf of Mexico, this has been, trying to understand loop current, this has been the first time where the real focus has been on the inflow region. So we had 4 gliders, 2 from Sicily, 1 from Rutgers and 1 from TAMU, and the chart on the left-hand side shows the tracks of those gliders. We had 1 apex float. We had 6 Woods Hole group far horizon drifters. We had the HF radar in the Yucatan, which is observing the surface currents across the Yucatan Channel. Fugro ran a series of Rockies airborne ocean current imaging sensors across the region during the test, and we also had all the observations that were being made as kind of background Argo work in UGOS. And then in terms of the output, we had GOFs, CMEMs, and RTOFs, and TOPS, which is the CLS Woods Hole group model, all running and supporting the program as it progressed. And so this is just an image showing some of showing the HF radar data, and then a cross section of velocity across the Yucatan, and these types of products are new. They're developed by Texas A&M and by Rutgers collectively and collaboratively. And these are, really this Yucatan HF radar is now I would guess is probably about the most advanced in terms of the type of analytics that can be applied to the data in real time. One of the things that we did do we worked very closely in the master program with the MC's team at MIT. They ran ensemble models, and they developed a reachability tool for gliders that really just told you what based on the model output, what you could actually do with a glider and where you could get to, what was achievable. And also through their ensemble models, they were able to identify areas of uncertainty. So this allowed the glider pilot to not only to see where he ought to go, but whether or not he could get there. And so this tool was used in real time by the glider pilots. And right now, the UGOS team are talking to Jorge about how this could be transitioned to GCOOS. Okay, we also had the Woods Hole group mapper, Rafael Ramos, that was in charge of that, and they were consuming all the data and delivering it all in real time to allow us to make informed decisions on the program. And we had the modelers working as well, and this is an example of 2 outputs, one from the 4-kilometer HICOM and one from the 1-kilometer HICOM, showing the advantages you get by having the higher resolution, because the small bank to the north east of Cozumel is the Banco Aerosmith, and it turns out that has quite a significant impact on the hydrodynamics. And so from this program, we were able to illustrate that from the HF radar data and then show the benefits of going to a 1 kilometer model. Okay, so moving quickly on. The next phase we're working on is the GRACE, the Grand Adaptive Sampling Experiment. It's the kind of the next stage of leading on from master, and the goal is to assess the value of adaptively sampled observations in improving forecasts, and we're trying to demonstrate and evaluate adaptive sampling strategies. And I think in this program, one of the key areas of interest is looking at the significance and importance of the Tortugas eddy and other frontal eddies, cyclonic eddies, in impacting the separation of eddies from the loop current. So in this experiment, again, we'll have observationally largely the same team, Tamu and Rutgers and the Sasise operating gliders. But on this occasion, the Sasise gliders will continue on the inflow region, but the American gliders will be focused on the cyclonic eddies to the east of the loop current. And this will also involve installing apex floats as well and far horizon drifters. And we'll be running MIT MCs again in real time, and certainly TOPS and CNAPS too, and ECOPS if it's ready. And all the data will be delivered through the GTS for assimilation. And then after the program, we'll be doing OSEs to determine the value of the different data sets that we acquire. So the program is in planning and permitting right now, scheduled to begin in April 2025, running, it'll be a 6-month program that'll start sometime between April 2025 and April 2026. We're setting up a set of trigger conditions that will be the criteria for commencing the program. And so it will finish in the end of 2026 at the latest. And then there'll be the post-analysis work continuing through the end of the UGOS program. And that's it. Sorry, I went on a bit.
Thank you, Jan. I'm going to give us time for one question. If anyone has one question for Jan, and I would encourage others to put your questions for Jan in the chat, and we will make sure that he gets those. And I'm also going to add 5 minutes to our lunch break so we can accommodate a question for Jan. Alex.
Hi. Thanks for your presentation. I really like it. I was wondering if actually we're working on the Yucatan Shelf, and we are very eager to have like some glider missions over the shelf. I don't know if you have any information about that, or maybe to see if we can plan together how on a scientific project to get some gliders on this part of the ocean that I think will be very interesting for the whole project too.
Yeah, I mean the main problem we have on the shelf is that it's very difficult for us to navigate the gliders if the water gets too shallow. But yeah, let's make sure we link up, Alex, and I can certainly put you. I mean, I think Steve DeMarco's on the call, and maybe we can certainly put you in touch with the people that are working. I can put you in touch with the people that are working on the glider aspects of the program. And yeah, if we can collaborate, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Jan and Alex. If you have any other questions for Jan, please put them in the chat. We're ready for our lunch break. We were supposed to return at 12:10 from the lunch break. I'm going to extend that to 12:15 to give everyone a few extra minutes. So we will reconvene at 12:15. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you then.